Okay, so here we are going live after taking longer than originally could have wanted, anticipated, or ever imagined. 9 minutes later, 9 minutes later than originally programmed. Trying not to sound too hostile in my tone of my voice. We are, of course, reading the 15th anniversary edition of The Art of Loving by Erich Fromm. Introduction by Peter D. Kramer, whoever the fuck that is. Is that the guy that got kicked off Seinfeld? D. Kramer? Mm. Let us place the microphone on my chest so we may proceed forward. Okay, here we go. The Art of Loving from Erich. This Erich fella. Here we go. Fucking introduction. Fucking. Okay, well, maybe we will read the introduction. Okay. For 15 years now, we have had the insight, comfort, and inspiration of this little book, The Art of Loving. Excuse me. An extraordinary run. Psychology has changed many times. Oh, God. Oh, one problem after another. What an extraordinary one. Psychology has changed many times in those decades. Freud has gone in and out of fashion. Varieties of psychotherapy have flourished and vanished. Medications have redefined our understanding of emotion. They, too, glisten and then tarnish. Throughout Fromm's slender volume has been with us, offering calm advice. We make a book endure. The topic surely gets credit. Love, as Fromm tells us, is what we are starved for. Love defines us. It is the answer to the problem of human existence. And then each year sees dozens of books on love. None is translated, as Fromm's has been, into 34 languages. Doubtless the title helps. It does not draw on the language, what are now called buzzwords, for the commercial culture. In the cleanliness, the title lays claim the book's future as a classic. Fromm does not hide behind his profession, does not propose psychoanalysis in The Art of Loving. He is bold. He will meet his readers directly. Then there is the language. It fulfills the title's promise. Fromm is direct. Is love an art? Then it requires knowledge and effort. There is, we may find, poetry in the economy expression. There is the poetry in the economy of expression. Yeah, I love that. Art form. Without love, humanity could not exist for a day. Rarely, when his you son of a bitch. EXCORIATING excoriating the mer MERCANTILE mercantile culture. Fromm breaks into metaphor. The world is one great object for our appetite, a big apple, a big bottle, a big breast. We are the suckers, the elementary expectant ones, the hopeful ones, and the eternally disappointed ones. The observation points to an important reason Fromm speaks to each new generation. He has been persistent. He has identified the core challenge in our lives. If the culture rewards narcissism, how shall we transcend ourselves? If the culture is alienating, how we find what we long for, intimacy, passion, attenuement, what Fromm calls reunion by love. With the passage of time, these questions have become more pressing. The commercial taints the personality openly. Successful men seek trophy wives. Almost half of marriages end in divorce, in part because of the temptations to trade up, as if each individual had a fixed worth, some calculable integration of youth, beauty, cleverness, status, and especially wealth. Often as not, these rearrangements result in marriages that feel empty. This condition of life is one Fromm understood. Fromm began his critique as a young age. He was born in 1900, an Orthodox Jew, to Orthodox Jewish parents in Frankfurt. His grandfather and both great grandfathers and fathers' side were eminent rabbis. Fromm's father, a wine merchant, was ashamed of his career. Reminiscing about his early years, Fromm said, I found it as a child very strange that people devote their life to making money, and I was very embarrassed when a man had to admit in my presence that he was a businessman. When Fromm was 12, one of his father's employees kindled an interest in socialism. Fromm's religious training exposed him to progressive ideas, the notions that a prophet must express himself through practice as well as words, meeting people's daily needs. But Fromm never felt fully comfortable in the Orthodox community. At, at age 23, he decided his opposition to Zionism on the grounds that nationalism conflicted with full humanism. At 26, to symbolize his break with ritual, he ate bread on Passover. Meanwhile, Thrum had earned his doctorate from Hildenberg, place in Germany, Hildenberg University. He had studied law and religion, but graduated in social economy, the then current term for sociology. He had also met and soon married Frieda Reichmann, a psychiatrist 11 years his senior, who introduced Fromm to the revolutionary field of psychoanalysis. The marriage was active for only a few years, but Fromm's interest in analysis persisted. Fromm's training in sociology made him judge Sigmund Freud's theories to be narrow and mechanic. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. Mechanic, masochistic. I know what the word is. I know how I should be saying the words. Masochistic. Narrow and masochistic. Yes, correct. Much of what Freud explained via inborn instincts, Fromm saw as arising from economic, political, and cultural forces. For Fromm, individuals were not bundles of drives tamed through repression. Humans were always social creatures, acting within a social structure. Fromm allied himself with Marxists and socialists in the atypical movement. His preference was for the early Marx, the utopian who hoped that the constraints imposed by the division of labor could be reversed by the more humane economic system. Fromm's own formal paper concerned criminal justice, religion, and morality. As early as the 1930s, love crept into Fromm's studies as well. Research on patriarchal Research on patriarchal and matriarchal societies led to a consideration. Whoa, bro, ain't that fun? Excuse me. Patriarchal. The utopian who had hoped for constraints imposed by the division of labor could be reversed by a more humane economic system. Fromm's own formal papers concerned criminal justice, religion, and morality. As early as 1930, love crept into Fromm's studies as well. Research on patriarchal and matriarchal societies led to a consideration of differences between a mother's and a father's love for a child. In the shadow of nihilism, Fromm wrote about again, I know the word and I know how I'm supposed to be saying it, but authoritarian governments and their tendency to produce sadists. Much earlier than Freud, Fromm saw the potential for disaster in Europe. At the invitation of the feminist psychoanalyst Karen Horney, Fromm visited the United States in 1933 and then emigrated, though never uncritical, he embraced the new country by 1940s. Fromm was writing in English. In America, Fromm's critique of classical psychoanalysis sharpened. In 1939, he wrote that Freud sees a man as an animal coerced by his instincts but domesticated by society. He lacks the categories of spontaneity, such as love, tenderness, joy, and even sexual pleasure, as far as it is more than relief from tension. To Fromm, the analyst's job included considering character as a response to cultural forces, such as the annihilation from self the Marxists see as inherent in capitalism. As for the practice of psychoanalysis to confront the separateness that is the burden of modern and perhaps all life, the therapist Fromm believed must not neutral but intensely but Fromm believed must be not neutral but intensely present. With the publication in 1941 of Escape from Freedom, Fromm became a celebrity. He had tried to make sense of how humans lose their individuality through joining an authoritarian system, turning to destructiveness or an egalitarian notion, cultivating conformity. Individual psychology, he declared, is properly a subset of social psychology. Humans always live within relationships. Fromm was popular precisely because, in an age of ideologies, he was not an ideologue. He took what he needed and enthusiastically from Judaism, Marxism, psychoanalysis, and later Taoism and Zen Buddhism. But Fromm was finally a humanist. He worked at the task he worked at the task consigned conscientiously for the whole of his life. For the whole of his life, he devoted his mornings and activities that could not make money to study and quiet thought. Later in life, he supplemented contemplation with political action, taking a leadership role in anti-nuclear and anti-war movements. Fromm was a lover of people. He had intense ties to the major figures of psychoanalysis and the social scientists Sandor Franalzi, Harry Stack Sullivan, David Reisman, and Herbert Macraw, among many others. His taste in women was electric. Is that right? After separating from Frieda from Reichmann, Fromm had an affair with Horney. He was linked to both Catherine Dunham and Martha Graham in the New York dance community. He married the photographer Henny Garland in 1944 and was devoted to her until his death in 1952. The women were much older and much younger. homely and beautiful, white and black, cerebral and physical. What they had in common was strength. Hey, I like this guy. Strength, brilliance, and intense involvement with what they cared about. But the great love of Fromm's life was Annie Freeman. She was a lawyer's widow, an American Southerner with an interest in international politics. In his mid 50s, Fromm courted her with mash notes, kisses, and ovals of devotion. He continued, oh, that's great. Avowals of devotion. He continued in this vein for 28 years. It is, it is his commitment and passionate relationship that set the personal context for the art of loving. Wow. Wow. Okay. Okay. Cool. 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 We're on. We're doing the thing. We're doing the thing we're supposed to be doing. Good. The second cup of coffee will hit the bloodstream now in 45 minutes. Precisely when I need it. Precisely when I need it, bro. Whoa, bro. I apologize. Here we are now. The book draws on the whole of Fromm's experience. We are social creatures, made anxious by our separateness. The culture offers false and easy means for addressing our anxiety. Through sadness, it invites us, it invites us It invites us consume the same goods, work at the same jobs, adopt the same goals, define ourselves through conformity and insignificant nuances of difference. But if we lack the courage to be individuals, we will never achieve love, since love is union under the condition of preserving one's integrity. Love is not talking out of insecurity. It starts in giving of joy, interest, understanding, humor, sadness, of all expressions and manifestations of that which is alive in us. For Fromm, love is rebellion against the commercial idea. He has particular contempt for glossy magazine articles in which happy marriage looks like corporate middle management. The smoothly functioning team, he writes, is the well oiled relationship between two persons who remain strangers all their lives. Even love as a heaven from aloneness is bound to fail. To love at all is to be engaged with humankind with open eyes. If someone would want to reserve his objectivity for the beloved person and think he can dispense with it in his relationship to the rest of the world, he will soon discover that he fails both here and there. But if Fromm is a critic, it is only to save principles that might also be called American. Fromm sees love as an aspect of autonomy. He takes the admonition, he takes the ADMONITION admonition to love thy neighbor as thyself. As evident that the love of thy own self is inseparably connected with love of any other being. For Fromm, this paradox is dialectic of individuality and meager, is unavoidable. Some couple theorists would go further and say that autonomy is too masculine a value. To feel incomplete without another is not a sign of weakness, but of full humanity. But then Fromm seems to anticipate this viewpoint. He sees the couple's oneness as an idea and not just oneness with the other. From one erotic love, seemingly exclusive of all outside its narrow bound, love is the other person, all of mankind, all that is alive. I actually kind of like that. That's all right. Quite the Irish hippie myself. And then Fromm explains how to do it. Like religious faith, love is a practice. He describes its elements, the discipline, the concentration, the practice, and the mastery of the art. Who must we be? What attributes must we hold? What attributes must we hold? Like freedom, love demands courage. Love is a capacity we can develop in ourselves. And then, even if the principle, underlying catalyst, society, and the principle of love are incompatible, we can find space in which to act. These conclusions ring true. They transcend the mid century conflicts from engaged, the disputes within socialism, psychoanalysis, and the rest, because Fromm transcended them. Why has the art of loving survived? Because we know that Fromm is on target, that we cannot find love by ascending laziness to the seductions of culture, nor will it do us to oscillate between complacency and aggression. To change the love we receive, we will have to change our capacity to give love. But the book remains fresh also because of Fromm's character. The topic, the title, the voice, the vision, and the message. As readers, we find that these elements come from a man who cares about us. Erich Fromm will not flatter. He knows our weakness and he knows what it is at stake. But he agrees with the goal, agrees that love matters, and not some superficial version of it. He has lived with the problem, using the traits he values in himself, especially the clarity of vision he calls objectivity. Finally, if we celebrate the art of loving after 50 years, it is because when we read it, we find that we are in the presence of a remarkable man. What stands out in what stands out in Fromm goes beyond intelligence, even beyond wisdom. There is in every aspect of the book evidence of traits Fromm proposes to us as paramount: self-awareness, humility, and courage. And there is the proof of his argument. To be addressed by a person is to feel challenged, to feel sustained, to feel loved. Preface. Oh, wait. Okay, I'll read the preface. Oh, boy, Baba. I'll read the preface. Ah, I carry on my wayward son. There'll be peace when you are done. Here we are now. Preface. The reading of this book would be a disappointing experience for anyone who expects easy instruction in the art of loving. This book, on the contrary, wants to show that love is not sentiment, which can be easily indulged in by anyone, regardless of the level of maturity reached by him. It wants to conceive the reader. It wants to convince, oh, excuse me. It wants to convince the reader that all his attempts for love are bound to fail unless he tries most actively to develop his total personality so as to achieve a productive ornamentation. That satisfaction in individual love cannot be attained without the capacity to love one's neighbor, without true humanity, courage, faith, and discipline. In a culture in which these qualities are rare, the attainment of the capacity of love must remain a rare achievement, or anyone can ask himself how many truly loving persons he has known. Yet, the difficulty of the task must not be a reason to abstain from trying to know the difficulties as well as the contradictions for its achievements. To avoid unnecessary complications, I have tried to deal with the problem in the language which is non-technical as far as this is possible. For the same reason, I have also kept to a minimum reference to the literature on love. For another problem, I did not find a completely satisfactory solution, that namely of avoiding repetition of ideas expressed in previous books of mine. The reader, familiar especially with Escape from Freedom, Man for Himself, and the Sane Society, will find in this book many ideas expressed in these previous works. However, the art of loving is by no means mainly a recapitulation. It presents many ideas beyond the previously expressed ones, and quite naturally, even older ones sometimes gain new perspectives by the fact that they are all centered around one topic, that of the art of loving. That's the preface. He knows nothing, loves nothing. He who can do nothing understands nothing. He who understands nothing is worthless. But he who understands also loves, notices, sees. The more knowledge is inherent in a thing, the greater the love. Anyone who imagines that all fruits ripen at the same time as the strawberries knows nothing about grapes. Lit, the big dog. All right, chapter 1. That's, excuse me, I gotta find the new book. That's where we will pick it up from tomorrow. I love you tomorrow, 'cause you're only a day away. Did you love that? That was great. Like, comment, share, subscribe, genuflect, and yeah, submit to thy will. No, have a great day. Get out there. Love yourself. And we'll pick it up tomorrow. Thanks. Yeah.